Good evening. As we go to air tonight, there are fast-moving developments in the Nancy Guthrie celebrity kidnapping that's gripped much of the world for more than a week. Officers appear close to blowing the case wide open.
They've hauled in a suspect and are searching a house. There's hope detectives are close to finding the 84-year-old mother of a breakfast TV host, but they still don't know if she'll be dead or alive.
Police swarm a house in southern Arizona. The woman who lives here struggling to understand why.
They're just invading my property. I told them they're going in and out of my house, taking a lot of pictures and everything.
Police detained a man at Rio Rico, 20 kilometres from the Mexican border, an hour south of Tucson from where Nancy Guthrie was seemingly abducted.
This is CNN Breaking News.
And we do have major breaking news as the Pima County Sheriff's deputies and the FBI have detained a person for questioning in the Nancy Guthrie case.
Confirmed to us that was involved in this traffic stop. It's a silver Nissan Rogue. Is this your son-in-law's vehicle?
The one that was on the side of the... That's my daughter's vehicle. He works in Tulsa.
What does he do?
He's a delivery guy.
This just hours after the FBI released this video. A masked intruder outside Nancy Guthrie's home, armed with what appears to be a handgun. Spotting the doorbell camera, the person hits it, tampers with it, then turns around, exposing a stuffed backpack. They appear to look for something, eventually ripping a plant from the garden, using the shrubbery to obstruct the lens.
They did not look like they expected there to be a camera, which you would have expected someone who's more proficient to have done some recon.
Every single available clue analysed by the FBI, frame by frame.
That it's highly premeditated and very poorly planned. Those pavers, those are a known size, probably like a foot square. That gives you a shoe size. From the shoe size, you get height. There is so much that they learn from this.
The video was captured on February 1, hours before the 84-year-old was reported missing. But Nancy Guthrie didn't pay for a subscription for the camera that would have automatically saved the video. After 10 days, the FBI says the vision was retrieved from residual data.
But this is a demonstration to people out there that digital evidence very rarely goes away.
From her TV host daughter, Savannah Guthrie, we believe she is still alive. Someone out there recognises this person. A chilling development, but newfound hope this mystery might be solved.
And let's go live now to US correspondent Miley Hogan in Arizona. Miley, FBI agents are still looking for evidence.
Yeah, good evening. Well, it has just gone past midnight here, and the FBI agents, the investigation into this man and that property is only just beginning. We can show you these fresh images that are just coming into the newsroom now. FBI searching a vehicle. Look, the police are being very careful with the language they are using, with the information that they are giving. What I can tell you is this man is being questioned in relation to abduction of Nancy Guthrie, but he hasn't been charged with anything. No arrest warrant has been issued at this stage. What the FBI has said is that after they have released those security pictures, they received a dramatic increase in tips from the public. But tonight, they still don't know where Nancy Guthrie is or if she is okay.
Thank you.
The daughter of a Bondi terror attack victim has taken a swipe at Grace Tame for leading a controversial chant at the anti-Israel rally at Town Hall. But the former Australian of the Year isn't backing down despite calls for her to be prosecuted, saying she's been made a villain for speaking out.
It's a speech that's left Jewish groups stunned and in disbelief it's come from an Australian of the Year.
Say it with me, from Gadigal to Gaza, globalise the Intifada.
Why?
Intifada is not a resistance movement. Intifada is a call for murder, annihilation and hate.
The daughter of Bondi hero and victim, Reuven Morrison, furious over Monday's protest and Grace Tame's involvement.
These chants are of the exact same ideology of the terrorists that murdered 15 Australians in cold blood simply for being Jewish.
No Australian of the Year has ever been stripped of their title. Some want Grace to be the first.
Yes, 100%. The answer to that is yes.
And also investigated for hate speech.
She should be prosecuted
for inciting violence and hate towards our Jewish community.
I think it's extremely dangerous, and I think that's why these people should be prosecuted.
Tame releasing a video statement late today.
But I am not the story.
Claiming the focus on her was a distraction from Israeli President Isaac Herzog's controversial tour.
Who himself stands credibly accused of war crimes.
As an indication of just how incendiary Grace Tame's words were here at Sydney Town Hall, Queensland is set to become the first state to outlaw them altogether, with sweeping new hate speech laws attracting 2-year jail terms. Shana Gutnick says the surviving Bondi gunman would be overjoyed protesters were using that phrase.
I implore on those people, while you stand and chant those things that you chant, research a little onto their meaning.
Chris Reason, 7 News.
And the Premier isn't flinching in his support of police, despite pressure from within his own party to apologise for the violent clashes at that town hall protest. Demonstrators gathered again last night to rally against what they're calling police brutality, but this time there was only one arrest.
Armed with only a torch, 18-year-old Duke Austin faces off with a wall of police. Refusing to stop, police follow through on their threat, charging him with assaulting police and possessing a knife, released on bail 20 hours later. Do you believe that you assaulted police?
Not really, to be honest.
The only arrest during a second consecutive night of protests, this time against police brutality.
No justice, no peace, no racist police!
The 1,000 protesters vocal but not violent.
We're not going to be swept out of sight, out of mind.
The Sydney Police Centre is just outside the major events zone declared for the Israeli president's visit, meaning that police didn't have the same additional powers to move on protesters as they did at Town Hall on Monday night. As calls for an independent inquiry into the actions of police ramp up.
What we saw on Monday, we must never, ever see on our streets ever again.
Some within his own ranks demanding an apology from the Premier.
When police use inappropriate and excessive force, we must condemn it, not excuse it.
His Emergency Services Minister encouraging a review to ensure every officer is accountable for their actions. But Chris Minns isn't backing down, insisting police were just doing their job.
We're attempting to keep the people of New South Wales safe.
Taylor Aiken, 7 News.
The Israeli president has taken his Australian tour to Canberra, along with the protests and the tension.
Despite Israel's fierce criticism of Anthony Albanese in the wake of the Bondi massacre, Isaac Herzog was welcomed by the Prime Minister with open arms.
Rolling out the red carpet so Anthony Albanese can be seen walking shoulder to shoulder with Israel. On the road from the airport, a less welcoming message quickly covered up. As Israel's head of state meets ours, greeted by Governor-General Sam Mostyn.
I think it is terribly important that your visit is one that stands with those who are still grieving.
We both share the need to fight anti-Semitism.
Security tight, on the ground and above, as news of his visit to the Israeli embassy reaches protesters outside Parliament House.
A peace tree. I mean, hypocrisy doesn't even begin to cover it.
A smaller protest than Sydney and not violent, but their message just as direct for a man accused by the UN of inciting genocide in Gaza, something he angrily denies.
Arrest Herzog! Arrest Herzog!
And the same provocative chant.
From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free!
As he is ushered in the other side. The Israeli government's criticism of Anthony Albanese after the Bondi massacre was brutal, but the president says his mission here is to repair, not get square.
There's also an opportunity to bring the relations between our nations on a new beginning.
You've provided comfort to the Jewish Australian community.
In private, Anthony Albanese restated Australian anger over the killing of aid worker Zomi Franken and its desire to see the death in Gaza end.
We in Australia want to see peace in the Middle East.
And here. And Anthony Albanese is pushing back strongly against that criticism of the visit. He says it's allowed him to deliver Australia's concerns over Gaza directly to the Israeli president, as well as our shared grief over the Bondi killings. And he's assured the president the new anti-hate laws will better protect Australia's Jewish community. President Herzog is expected to return to Sydney tonight before spending the final day of his visit in Melbourne tomorrow.
Mark Riley in Canberra, thank you. A 13-year-old girl suffered critical injuries when she was struck by a car at Camperdown this afternoon. The teen was crossing the road at the intersection of the Princes Highway and Butland Avenue around 1:30 when she was hit. She was treated for head injuries at the scene before being taken to hospital. Despite deaths and promises of action, yet another tragedy has unfolded at Blacktown Hospital.
7 News can reveal tonight a much-loved grandmother died after being left in the waiting room for days with a bed simply not available.
63-year-old Maria Osborne died after waiting days at Blacktown ED.
We were married 45 years.
Her husband Stephen now wearing her wedding ring.
Close to your heart.
Yep, that's the daughters did that.
A proud and beloved grandmother.
He's turning 16.
Her family has been left reeling. She was suffering severe stomach pains.
It was septicemia in a bile duct, so if you had antibiotics earlier, it might have been a different story.
Maria arrived by ambulance at 5 p.m. on Sunday the 16th of November. Only transferred to a bed on Tuesday afternoon in the waiting room for 44 hours.
44 hours in a wheelchair in the waiting room.
What was it like in there?
Bordering on chaos. People in for all different reasons, and some, there's people laying on the floor and people trying to push chairs together to make beds out of them.
Health says during the wait she had tests and medication.
We know LEDs are under pressure at the moment.
The family has lodged a formal complaint.
They deserve transparency. They deserve answers.
They're not alone.
It was the hardest thing to go through.
7 News exposing death after death.
It is long overdue. We have a proper and thorough investigation into Western Sydney Health.
The Health Minister maintains the problem is bed block.
We know that we've got a large number of people, aged care residents, stuck in our hospitals, and that means access to beds is a challenge.
Things have to be changed, don't they?
More federal funding is on the way for our struggling Western Sydney hospitals, but it will take time, and the Health Minister admits we've still got a long way to go when it comes to solving the crippling bed shortage, which is currently leading to people waiting not hours but days in the ED. The topic will be top of the agenda at a national meeting of health ministers on Friday.
OK, Serena and Delore, thank you. And if you have a story you'd like investigated, send your email to newstips@7.com.au.
Canberra is buzzing right now with reports Angus Taylor could quit shadow cabinet at any minute, triggering his Liberal leadership challenge against Susan Lee and putting him at the point of no return.
A leadership spat tailor-made for mockery.
Now, we don't know who the Liberal leader will be next week.
Government minister after minister riffing on Angus Taylor's silence.
While we wait for the men in the Liberal Party to draw straws.
The Conservative would-be leader not yet ready to run.
Giant vacant space.
Nor to rule out a run.
The member for Hume was born with a silver foot in his mouth, Mr Speaker.
Leader Susan Lee's supporters infuriated their party room might dump the first woman to lead them just 9 months after they elected her.
If you want to call a spill, put your name to it and call it.
So let's give her a fair chance. I don't know, it's crazy, it might just work.
Other Liberals alarmed by poll numbers that suggest the party's very existence is threatened.
In a tough time for our party, who've been in a death spiral.
This evening, a media pack has formed outside Angus Taylor's office. Journalists in the corridor, even closer, all expecting Taylor will make the 50-metre walk from his office to Susan Lee's office to tell her he's quitting her front bench and taking her job. If he makes the walk, it will signal Taylor believes he has the numbers, and the Liberals will vote on leadership before MPs leave here on Friday. Tim Lester, 7 News.
10 people are dead in Canada and 25 more are in hospital after a horrific mass shooting. Most of the victims were killed at a high school in the town of Tumbler Ridge, over 1,000 kilometres north of Vancouver. The shooter, reportedly a woman, died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
The people of Tumbler Ridge remain in a state of crisis following one of the worst mass shootings in our province's and country's history.
The mayor said the town is so small, he'll likely know every victim.
Trauma doctors have spoken out about the sharp spike in e-bike injuries, warning they're treating more riders than ever before. A survivor of a near-fatal crash has now told his frightening story, calling for tougher laws.
Fast with fragile cargo, a fall from an e-bike can be serious.
Minor fractures right through to serious people that have multi-system injuries.
When Mitchell Whelan crashed in June last year, he was in a coma for 2 weeks. He hadn't been wearing a helmet.
I broke my neck, I broke my ribs, my skull came open, my brain came out. I broke my hand, I broke my wrist, cut my liver open.
Now calling for tougher restrictions, the 40-year-old was one of 200 patients at St Vincent's Hospital last year with e-bike related trauma. That's double the figures from 2024 and an increase of 350% on 2023.
I would say this is an epidemic.
There could be more regulation, but what that regulation is, I don't think I'm the right person. It may have made my injuries a lot less.
New South Wales is the only state where you can legally purchase an e-bike with 500 watts of power, but that will soon be cut in half.
This is an issue that has probably crept up over the last few years on legislators.
I think the legislations which are being discussed are a real positive move forward.
Bikes are a great way to get around, but they can be dangerous.
Emily Francis, 7 News.
There's been drama at Sydney's new fish market. A burst pipe turning one of the levels into a truck wash. Witnesses claim the vehicle's boom cracked an overhead pipe, spraying thousands of litres of water down the drain. Time to check today's weather now with Paul Caddick. And Paul, the heat has been on all afternoon.
Angela, that is right, with very little help from the sea breeze. Some suburbs only reaching their high in the last hour. Things started, though, with some fog in the west. This was around Yagoona early this morning, but then staying dry through the day with some wispy cloud passing overhead. The city reaching 32 degrees just before 4 p.m, getting to 37 in the west just before 5, but it felt a couple of degrees warmer than that. Above average temperatures for much of the state today, into the 40s at Griffith and Deniliquin. A warm night ahead for Sydney, 23 degrees as low as it's getting for many, with a wet and gusty southerly change on the way for us tomorrow. The latest forecast is coming up soon.
OK, thank you, Paul.